I still remember the day they turned me out of the family. The air in the room had gone stale, thick with the stench of disappointment, mingling with the bitter taste of betrayal. My father, once my greatest champion, sat at the head of the table, his voice trembling with a mixture of anger and despair. "Do you understand what you're saying?" he spat, his brow furrowing deeper with every word. "You want to waste your life studying mushrooms and soil like it's some kind of witchcraft? You'll disgrace us. You'll lose your mind." I was tenacious, but their words stung like 1,000 paper cuts. I had uncovered a food safety scandal that rocked our small town, one that put my work in the spotlight, but then turned it black as night. The very colleagues I thought would stand by me had turned and chewed me up, spitting me out like I was nothing more than a weed in the garden of their pristine reputations. My obsession with occult phytopathology, the study of supernatural plant diseases, was mocked as delusional. Years passed, and I became a ghost to them, a faded memory of a daughter and sister they had cast aside. But in that solitude, I found my purpose. Every whispered word of ridicule became fuel. I immersed myself in my research, peeling back the layers of the earth to unveil the rot beneath. I traveled to haunted orchards, cursed territories, places drenched in folklore and dark secrets. I mapped the traces of fungal intelligence that slithered through the soil like a sentient nightmare. And as I unearthed horrors, I learned to survive them. Now, on that brisk autumn night, the wind howled like a banshee as I returned home. My heart raced with a mixture of dread and anticipation. I had come back not just as a daughter, but as a herald of truth, a specter of the very horrors they once scoffed at. I had become an expert in something they feared to acknowledge. The world now recognized me, not as the disgrace they had deemed me, but as a warning. As I stood outside the silhouette of our old house, I could see the flickering lights through the window, shadows dancing with mundane routine. They had gathered for dinner, unaware of the storm I was about to unleash. I knocked, the sound reverberating through the silence like a death knell. When they opened the door, I was met with a mixture of disbelief and horror. My mother, her eyes wide, clutched her apron as she took in my presence, my unkempt hair, my dirty lab coat stained with the remnants of my research. "What is this?" she whispered, the words tasting foreign on her tongue. "I've come to show you the truth," I declared, stepping past them into the dimly lit living room. The tension was palpable as I set down a glass vial filled with a swirling bioluminescent fungus. It glowed ominously in the light, casting eerie shadows on the walls. "You see, this is what I've been studying. A fungal intelligence that infects crops and people. It drives them mad, twisting their minds until they're no longer themselves." Their laughter had turned to silence. My father shifted uncomfortably in his chair, while my sister, who had been the loudest in her scoffing, now stared at the vial with wide, unblinking eyes. As I spoke of my findings, recounting the horrors of the fields I had traversed, I noticed a change in the atmosphere. The shadows in the corners seemed to grow thicker, almost alive. I could feel the weight of unspoken truths pressing down on us, a darkness creeping ever closer. "You don't know what you're talking about," my father finally shouted, his voice breaking the tension. "This is nonsense. You're still a disgrace to this family. Why should we believe you?" I felt my heart intensify. "Then let me show you," I said, my voice steadied by years of conviction, "what you refuse to see." Without waiting for their consent, I opened the vial, releasing its contents into the air. The ambient glow filled the room, illuminating their faces with a sickly light. They recoiled, eyes wide with terror, as the air around us shimmered and twisted. Suddenly, my sister screamed. A dark mist poured from the vial, tendrils snaking through the air, wrapping around her arm like ivy. "Help! Someone help me!" she gasped, but it was too late. The fungus had found its host, its influence seeping into her mind, awakening the fears she had kept buried. I stood frozen, watching as she writhed in agony, the terror of disbelief manifesting before my very eyes. My,